The consequences of blame and complaints. A path to hardship and illness. There are laws by which we live. Among these, one of the worst things a person can do is blame others and constantly complain. These are the worst habits. The moment you start complaining, you are setting yourself up for difficulties. Complaining marks the beginning of hardship. The moment you blame others, you make things harder for yourself. These two things are principles we must always keep in mind. You can blame others and complain if you want, but know that doing so will only make your life more difficult. No one can prevent this, not even God. Difficulties will accumulate little by little, and before you know it, life will become incredibly hard. So why do people blame others? We must understand the principle behind this. If something is not going well for me, it is because I lack the necessary skills. Everything in life comes to us because we need it, and it arrives at the right time. If I am not well prepared, I will not be able to handle things properly. If I do not approach people the right way, the things I attempt will not succeed. When hardships come, it is not because of others but because of my own shortcomings. No matter what, the challenges I face are the result of my own inadequacies. This is not something to blame others for. Instead, I must look inward. Even if we are not used to this habit, we must change it. That is the key. If we have lived with bad habits due to a lack of training, we must work to change them. We must train ourselves to stop blaming others. This is a divine principle. Difficulties in life arise from within ourselves, not from external circumstances. If we have not learned how to understand this correctly, then now is the time to learn. What I teach is not here to preach religious faith but to help us study and understand life. If we properly learn and approach the world with the right mindset, we will not struggle, and even our past mistakes will be corrected. However, if we blame others, we will never improve ourselves, and we will lose our strength, leading to constant hardships. That is why blaming others is absolutely wrong. Do not complain. Even if we were born in the ruins of a war, we were born there because that is where we were meant to start. Complaining will only make your life harder. Instead, accept where you are and work from there to improve your life. Do not complain about being born into a poor family instead of a wealthy one. Instead, study why you were born there. From that starting point, you can build a life greater than that of the rich. Do not complain about your circumstances, for they are perfectly suited to you. Our past and future are connected, and we are born in a specific situation because we need to develop the right mindset. Complaining does not change anything. Instead, be grateful for the environment given to you, for it is a gift from nature. If you complain, you only make things harder for yourself. Even after hearing this lesson, if you still choose to complain, that is your choice. That, too, is a form of learning how to make life harder. If you wish to learn in a way that leads to a better life, then do not complain. Complaining is a poison, the most dangerous kind of poison. Engrave this in your heart. Do not complain and do not blame others. Our given circumstances are a gift from nature. If we navigate them well, we will enter a better world, meet better people, and achieve great things. Therefore, blaming others and complaining are the two things we must eliminate. Do you understand? Does complaining lead to illness? Just now, someone asked if complaining causes illness. Let me explain this principle more clearly. When a person struggles, illness arises. No one gets sick when they are truly happy. Hardship brings illness. Some people believe that if they have money, they will not suffer. But that is a misconception. Even wealthy people struggle. Difficulty does not come from financial status. A person can have mountains of money and still feel burdened. Hardship exists at every level of society. A king struggles, a wealthy chairman struggles. Each person faces hardships according to their own position. When people feel trapped, frustrated, angry, or blame others, they create difficulties for themselves. These difficulties manifest in their bodies as illness. The cause of illness and the cause of hardship are the same. Now, let us clarify what illness really is. Some may think illness is simply a physical problem like liver disease, but illness goes beyond that. Not being able to live as you wish is also an illness. Ignorance and frustration are illnesses, too. When a person feels trapped and suffocated, that stress leads to disease. The more frustration builds up inside, the more likely it is to turn into an internal sickness. This inner suffering eventually affects the body. In other words, illness and hardship are fundamentally the same thing. When we live incorrectly and fail to understand the principles of life, we suffer, both mentally and physically. Understanding this truth is the key to overcoming both hardship and illness. The harm of blaming others and complaining. 1. Blaming and complaining make life harder. 1. One of the worst habits is blaming others and constantly complaining. 2. Complaining marks the beginning of difficulties, making life more challenging. 3. No one, not even God, can stop the hardships that come from these negative habits. 2. Hardships come from within, not from others. 1. If something is not going well, it is due to our own lack of skills, not others' faults. 2. Life presents challenges because we need them for growth. 3. If we are not well prepared or fail to treat people properly, things will not work out. 4. Instead of blaming others, we must look inward and take responsibility. 3. We must change our habits. 1. Even if we are not used to self-reflection, we must develop this habit. 2. Blaming others prevents self-improvement and drains our strength. 3. If we learn and apply the right mindset, we can correct past mistakes and avoid struggles. 4. Accept your circumstances and move forward. 1. Even if born into poverty or hardship, that is where we are meant to start. 2. Complaining about our situation does not change it. Understanding why we are there helps us grow. 3. Instead of complaining, we should embrace our environment, learn from it, and improve. 5. Complaining is poisonous. 1. If we continue to complain despite knowing its harm, we are choosing a harder life. 2. Complaining is a mental poison that only makes things worse. 3. Engrave this in your heart: do not complain. Do not blame others. Use your circumstances as a stepping stone for growth. 6. Complaining can lead to illness. 1. Hardship and stress can cause illness. 2. Even wealthy people and those in high positions struggle. 3. Suffering comes from emotional burdens, not just financial difficulties. 7. What is illness? 1. Illness is not just physical disease, it includes feeling trapped, frustrated, and powerless. Not being able to live as you wish. Ignorance and stress leading to suffering. 2. Stress and frustration build up, turning into internal sickness that affects the body. 8. The key to overcoming hardship and illness. 1. If we live correctly and understand life's principles, we can avoid suffering. 2. Both hardship and illness are results of misunderstanding life's natural flow. 3. By stopping blame and complaints, we open the door to a better, healthier life. The man who stopped complaining. The cold wind swept through the dimly lit alleyways of Seoul as Jae-ho sat hunched on a bench near the Han River. His hands were buried deep inside his worn-out jacket pockets, his breath forming small clouds in the winter air. Tonight, like so many nights before, he cursed his fate. "Why me?" he whispered, staring at the rippling water. "Why was I born into this life? Why do others have it so easy while I struggle just to get by?" Jae-ho had lost everything: his small business, his apartment, and his fiancée, who had walked away when financial hardships became unbearable. His friends had distanced themselves, tired of hearing his endless complaints about how unfair life was. One night, as he wandered the streets searching for food, he found himself standing outside a small, old bookstore. A sign in the window read, "Stop complaining, start living." Curious, and with nowhere else to go, he stepped inside. Behind the counter sat an old man with a kind face and deep-set eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of 1,000 lifetimes. The man looked up and smiled. "Lost something, young man?" Jae-ho scoffed. "Yeah, my whole life," the old man chuckled. "Ah, but do you even know where to look for it?" Jae-ho frowned. "What do you mean? My bad luck took everything from me. Life is just unfair." The old man leaned forward. "Let me tell you a story. There was once a farmer who had only one horse. One day, the horse ran away. His neighbors said, 'Oh, what terrible luck.' But the farmer simply said, 'We'll see.' The next day, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. The neighbors exclaimed, "How wonderful!" Again, the farmer only said, "We'll see." Later, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses and broke his leg. The neighbors pitied him, but the farmer remained calm. Soon after, war broke out, and all young men were drafted, except his son, who was spared because of his injury. Jaiho listened carefully. "So, you're saying that what seems like bad luck might actually be good luck in disguise?" The old man nodded. "Exactly. Life gives you what you need, not what you want. But those who complain and blame others waste their strength instead of using it to grow. Tell me, what have you learned from your hardships?" Jaiho hesitated. He had always seen his struggles as a punishment, not a lesson. I don't know. Maybe that people can be unreliable? That money isn't everything?" The old man smiled. "Good, but also, that you are still standing. You survived. You have the ability to rebuild, but only if you stop seeing yourself as a victim." Jaiho remained silent. The words struck something deep within him. Was it possible that his hardships had been opportunities disguised as suffering? Over the next few weeks, Jaiho visited the bookstore every evening. The old man lent him books about resilience, personal responsibility, and the power of gratitude. Jaiho began to see his past differently. He realized he had wasted years complaining instead of finding solutions. He stopped blaming his ex-fiancée, his failed business, or his so-called bad luck. He took a job at a small cafe, saved money, and slowly started a new life. His attitude changed. He worked hard without resentment, and he met new friends who admired his perseverance. Months later, he revisited the bookstore, but the old man was gone. The shop was empty, with a single note left on the counter. "When you stop complaining, you start living. Pass it on." Jaiho folded the note and placed it in his pocket, smiling to himself. He had finally found what he had been searching for, not luck, not fortune, but the power to change his own life.